I was very naive in raising capital. I had not done that before. Now, I spent 30 years getting products to global markets, so I know how to do that really well. But the art of raising capital it's very nuanced, it's not intuitive, and unless you're coming from certain circles, it can be really challenging. 6 core values: integrity, teamwork, dedication, passion, family, and service. And anybody associated with Xcellent Life, they absolutely embody those values, and I want our partners and investors to embody those values as well. Healthcare is absolutely getting ready to be transformed with the oncoming adoption of AI and the acceleration that we're seeing in the market. Like, it's going to be like no other transformation that we've seen, at least in my 30 years of being in technology.
Hello there, and welcome to Skyman and a Bug. I'm the Bug, and that is
the Skyman.
We are here to build relationships, technology, and work on the many wonders of being a business owner and a nutcase. Thank you for joining us, and we look forward to you listening to us, laughing with us, and taking a journey with us as we build businesses and relationships. Well, good morning, good afternoon, good evening again, fellow listeners and fellow CEOs, COOs, knucklehead business owners, and just enthusiasts in the space of creating relationship. My name is Nikkei Roach. Of course, you know me. I am the Bug. Yes, I am Nikkei/Roach the Bug. You got to figure it out. And my compadre, my partner in crime. We haven't done any crime. We haven't been indicted, but that's Josh, the Skyman Sheminsky. Josh, what's up?
Hey, I'm going with this one blind, so I don't know anything about this. So I'm just gonna put my shades on and let's go.
Let's go. Well, if you've already been listening to Skyman and a Bug podcast, you know we reach out to some of the most amazing, dynamic, innovative thinkers who are out here really changing the landscape within what they do. And this is no exception. I get a chance to talk with Victor Brown. He is the CEO of the Dynamic Tennessean, and he's going to share why he got into what he did, what's his superpower, because you always want to know what the superpower is, and then also what's his kryptonite, because my kryptonite might be cherry pie, but he might say, hey, my kryptonite is something else. So Victor, thank you for being here. I'm honored to talk with you today.
Yeah, I'm really excited. So I appreciate you, Nikkei, and Josh. This is an amazing opportunity to have a conversation. And I love sharing my story because what I found is that um, contrary to me loving different than me loving to share my story now, in recent history, I didn't like to share my story. And the reason being is because I felt like for a lot of what I wanted to do, which is encourage people and really give insights, that that type of information was better received when you're standing way up on a pedestal or plateau after you had reached some amazing level of success. But what I found is that it's really important that you also talk about the journey while you're in the journey, because that really authentic and genuine emotion, passion, and those real time stories can really, really be impactful. So I am well in my journey, and I do have insights I love to share. So a little bit about myself and that journey is that, as you mentioned, I'm founder and CEO of a company called Xcellent Life. It is a digital health company and something I'm really passionate about. I didn't start my career in healthcare. I spent 20 years in the energy sector, started as an engineer, transitioned to product manager, transitioned to marketing director, then VP of business development, and then leader of marketing and sales organizations. And naturally thought I was going to retire in the industry. I was compensated well, and that industry made sense to me. Then when I rewind, I guess about 15 years ago, my dad was diagnosed with type 2 diabetes. Yeah, I started to get more involved, and I recognized that, wait a second, healthcare makes no sense. It's absolutely crazy. And so the analogy that I give people to help them kind of understand why it was so profound for me was that in the energy sector, we would never say, hey, here's a nuclear reactor. Let's let it start to melt down, and then we'll go in and try to correct the issue. That'd be crazy. And thank God we don't do that, because that would certainly cause catastrophic failure. But unfortunately, that ridiculous approach is kind of the standard that we bear in healthcare. And so I knew that in theory, the human body is very much like a sophisticated electrical network. So
Mm-hmm.
it can be monitored and understood in the same way. So in principle, that's where the vision for Excellent Life came from, was to build a software platform that could really understand human vitality in a very granular way. And by pulling information in from variety of sources, wearable devices, other softwares, databases, the individual, and with that, analyzing information and provide insights will be helpful in navigating, being a healthier person and really identifying the signatures of illness way before those illnesses manifest themselves. And so that's kind
Oh,
of the kind of preventive nature of the solution that we're building. And the journey's been so interesting. So, um, yeah, I'm more than happy to share any questions or answers to any questions you have about what that journey has involved.
that
Well,
is huge, man. That's huge. But I'm gonna let Josh jump in on it since Josh has a background in technology and honestly a lot of different things, including sports writing. But we'll go there. Shoot away,
so
Josh.
where are you in technical journey? Do you have the everything built and working and living on the web?
Yeah, we built a platform, mobile app as well. And so we had an Android, iOS, and web-based app. But we built that thinking that we'd have this amazing platform and put amazing people around it, and we raise money after that. And we thought that would happen quickly. Well, I was very naive in raising capital. I had not done that before. Now, I spent 30 years getting products to global markets, so I know how to do that really well. But the
Mm,
art of raising capital is very nuanced, it's not intuitive. And unless you're coming from certain circles, it could be really challenging. So, even just to maintain a presence, we've had to really focus our attention on the web application as opposed to the mobile apps just to be able to maintain the software. And
hmm
so I spend a lot of time now actively trying to engage the investor community so that we can really truly go out and grow the business. But we've really got a lot of strategic traction. So we put some measures in place and develop some relationships to give us great access to really expanding very quickly. So yes,
mm.
long answer to your question. We have a platform and are just going through the process of growing the business.
I love the motivation of what started. It kind of got this evolution of excellent life, and I love the name by the way. It's perfect. It's like who doesn't want to live an excellent life? It's like speaking life into the future, but being able to talk from the standpoint of your dad getting type 2 diabetes. And when I used to work in the hospitals, we obviously, not obviously, but in our specific case with obesity contingents and everything like that, and it's not necessarily, they're not synonymous with each other. So let me just put that one out there.
Right.
But to be able to have that as a, I see the nuclear meltdown already happening. Okay, let's see if we, as an individual, we can be a little bit more proactive to highlight what are the possibilities of something popping up down the road without all the, let's go on the internet and let's Google is, and because it's more unlike, just putting on the internet and asking a question to like a chat GPT, which a person can totally do. It's individualized, it sounds like, because you're using all the wearable diagnostic tools to be able to individualize and say, based on this, your cardiovascular output is this, your ox output is this, your VO2 is this, your BMI is this, and then really getting narrowed it down and saying, okay, the likelihood of you developing this thing is pretty high. Let's divert that path right. Let's divert that path to keep you and move you into an excellent life. Is that a pretty good high level synopsis of what's going on?
It is. That's a really good synopsis. And to add to that, I think most people are probably like unaware of how powerful data can be, especially when you're collecting granular data. And if I give kind of an example of how things like capturing data has really benefited the energy sector and how it would eventually benefit healthcare, that we've captured enormous amounts of data in the energy sector so that we understand kind of the operating parameters of a variety of assets. And so today we could easily kind of sample kind of your energy consumption. And if we analyze it and look at the waveforms from the smart meter outside your home, we can tell when you're cutting lights on and off. We can tell when you're cutting your washer and dryer. Like we can dissect, that the various kind of electrical loads and understand, how they're operating. Well, the human body is very much the same way. What we haven't done is collect that enormous amount of information that we have access to. So in theory,
Mm,
once you collect that, not only can you have kind of personalized recommendations or insights, but you can essentially identify very minute signatures of these illnesses well before they're part of the equation. Because you can
mm.
see that. And so that is really the true power of data and understanding that. And that's kind of the journey that we're on as, in a evolving company.
So how do you collect the data? I know you use devices, but does someone sign up for like a kit and you send them in mail a monitor and stuff to participate in this, or are you relying on them or having those items to record their data?
Yeah, today we just do integration to existing devices. So we're relying on them and the devices they have, but we also allow for manual entry of data. And of course, the more data we collect, the more information we can understand about their health and health risks. But today we're not providing them with the actual devices. We built a software understanding that over the course of time, there's going to be a number of very, high-end wearable devices that are going to be coming online, and they're going to be monitoring different metrics. So, being a software-focused company, we needed to ensure that we could easily integrate those data sources into our platform. So, just
Mm.
as a design principle, we have made it really easy to take those third-party data sources and to plug them into, our platform.
So you're
Gotcha.
basically machine learning from the data that you're getting, correct?
Correct. So with machine learning, and there are all these different, approaches you can take and different models, like the sky's the limit. So healthcare is absolutely getting ready to be transformed with the oncoming adoption of AI and the acceleration that we're seeing in the market. Like it's going to be like no other transformation that we've seen, at least in my 30 years of being in technology.
Mm. So informatics and information and being able to collate that for the individual to be able to analyze and predict based on, like you said, load use or anything, and they either input it or use wearable devices that will now take that data and then say, not regurgitate, but then present it to them. Now, in that specific space, the people who take that information, is it more for the user themselves, or is it integrated with, say, their health provider to be able to bring some of that data in from their side as opposed to just simply the wearable devices?
Right. So we founded the company based on providing value for the individual user and really democratizing the value that individuals could receive from the healthcare system that was failing them.
Right.
As a part of how to offer increased value, we also have to make sure that the healthcare provider has access to that tool as well. So essentially, there's a vantage point or viewpoint that the healthcare service provider, gets value out of, but we are never losing focus that the reason the company exists is to provide value for the individual user. We just get to
Mm,
them through a different channel, whether it's the healthcare service provider or whether it's
mm.
the employer, which is kind of our primary focus. Employers themselves have a tremendous cost to having a workforce that's unhealthy.
Oh,
That
God.
cost shows up in terms of higher insurance premiums, higher claims, lost productivity, worker attrition, less satisfied employees. All of those bubble up to be a significant cost. So we can
So
get to a large number of people by going through solving that problem.
So, Victor, the reason why I'm smiling, and listeners, I appreciate it. I'm sorry you can't see myself grinning, because Josh and I literally were having that conversation this morning about insurance and insurance costs. Because, I mean, relative around insurance, and we're looking at, okay, so how do you, as you grow and evolve and really become not a steward, but a good partner
Mm,
in the evolution of your employees to help him or her grow, but also find, I don't want to say a home, but an environment that they can grow with. Making sure that their health and they're in optimal performance for themselves, not just also to keep your premiums low, because in our state, you got to cover half the cost if you're an employer. And then
right.
you have all other part that you got to figure out, like you said, somebody didn't show up because they were not
Mhm.
adhering to some of the information and adjusting. And then I wanted to ask this other question, which is a sort of the next step on that, is once they have all this information with regards to using the AI tools and using your platform, do they you have the second that here we see where you're leading towards, again, and I'm going to use some very graphic, you're leading into a brick wall. This is going to crash, and it's not going to. It's going to end with your body and your life changing dramatically, i.e., diabetes, cardiovascular, cancer, blah blah blah. Does your system allow for that next step that says we see you going into a brick wall, but we need to have you move a little to the left or a little to the right so you can avoid going smack on? Does that make sense?
It does. So our system does that, but a lot of systems do that part of it. The part that a lot of systems are not doing well is the pieces that you have to do every single moment of engaging the individual user to change behavior. Because what
Mm,
happens is that a lot of times, if we know that, okay, you know that your cholesterol is high and that, maybe you're overweight, you're not active. You know that if those are kind of the way that you would describe yourself, then you have a higher probability of dying of heart disease. You have a higher probability of having a stroke. That has never really changed behavior. We have to
right.
understand, like, we have to understand, like, in that moment, have some kind of instant gratification, some kind of instant, like, carrot and stick type of situation in order to change behavior. And so for what we do, we couple the ability to understand health in a very granular way with gamification so that we're driving behavior through providing rewards that are actually fun and engaging. And so rather than just depending on historically our bad in general performance of responding to, I know I'm not healthy, I need to be healthy. That never happens like that. Um, Especially for the bottom 20% that causes 80% of the cost. We make it fun, we make that engaging, and we give them the tools to be a healthier person. And so that's what makes us a little different.
Josh, go ahead.
So what prizes or are you giving for gamification?
Yeah, we do monetary rewards. And so we do
Seriously?
it, yeah, we do it differently. Like if you in any kind of healthcare program, you get nuances of the same thing, but whether it's money that has to go back to a healthcare savings account, you get perks, discounts, coupons, kind of free memberships to the gym. Ultimately, if you total all of that stuff up across the year, you'll get about $1,500 in general, give or take, a couple of $100.
Mm,
Well, if I'm employed, how much is $1,500 to me across the year? Is that really going to change
Mhm.
my behavior? Absolutely not. And so that's what we see with these kind of cookie cutter approaches. But what if you take that same pot of incentives across a large population of people and we say, okay, we're not paying everyone those perks. We're just paying the people who win the competition this week. Same thing next week. Well, if you do that, then you can have a much bigger monetary reward. If you have a group of people who are working for a reward of $5,000 versus something that they get across the year that doesn't even total up to that, that changes the dynamics of the group and you create what we call herd behavior. And it's not even the money at that point. So herd behavior is like, I give you an analogy. If I have $100 and I have 100 people around me and I say, okay, I want you all to run toward me as quickly as you can. And when you get there, I'm gonna give you $1. Well, you might get one or two people to run because $1 is not that big of an incentive. Well, if I say, okay, I want all you guys to run toward me, and the first person that gets to me gets $100, then you
mm,
change the dynamics of the circle. You're going to get more people incentivized, but also when you see the person to your right running and then the person to your left, it creates that herd behavior and everyone runs. So that's
mm.
the kind of the strategy that we apply to our application and what again drives greater behavior change.
So you don't entice people with fish fillet sandwiches as the incentive.
No, we put some real value behind it. And
You just had to go there, Josh. You just had to go there. Again, that's my Achilles heel. I told you there was some. That's earlier. I was saying what's my kryptonite, man. It's unfortunately it's fish fillet sandwiches in the worst place on the world. But never mind
hey
that.
man, it's a judgment free zone, man. It's a judgment free zone.
No, I'm judging.
Oh, my bad.
Josh is judgy. Don't worry about it. I'm
Okay,
accustomed
okay,
to
it's
it.
all good.
He's Jewish. They're a judgy crowd. Okay, go with
Tough point. Yeah.
It's more like guilt, but whatever.
Yeah,
Oh,
wait.
okay.
Well, let me rephrase that. It's his Jewish guilt. He can straight drop it into you. That's his grandmother talking. I'm sure.
Too
Yeah.
funny. You know, uh, I forgot to give you guys the nugget on my superpower and also my Achilles heel, my
That's
kryptonite.
what I want to hear. That. I mean, what's your
Oh yeah, let's
superpower?
hear that.
That's what I want to go with. Go
Yeah.
for it.
I think my superpower is my optimism and my tenacity kind of combined. Like there's not many competitions that I've entered into in life where I didn't foresee myself winning. And so I think that level of confidence feeds into how I prepare because I think when you feel like you're supposed to win, like, that doesn't happen just by chance. So I feel naturally I have to put in more time. I have to put in more effort. So my work day has never really been a 40-hour work week. Like my week, I've always spent more time than that learning, what I need to know in order to win. So that's
Hmm.
been my superpower, just showing up, well prepared. My kryptonite also kind of tied to the same thing as my optimism because I see uh, amazingness in every person I run into. Like it's crazy. Like, but I literally, it's very genuine. Someone could come to me, a complete stranger, and say, "Hey, I want to be an astronaut and go to the moon," and I'm gonna look at them and with like the most serious face and be like, "Look, do you see yourself like an astronaut go to the moon? Why would you not go to Mars? Why are you setting your goals so low as to only go to the moon? You should be going to Mars and like." That would be a real conversation. And while it sounds good, the reason I say that is my kryptonite is that when you've lived a certain amount of life, you recognize that, everybody doesn't have good intention. And so when I'm seeing people and I see them through my own eyes, I think naturally they have good intention. They're amazing people. Well, life would have it. Everybody's not amazing. They don't have good intention. So I have to manage that in the way that, I look for reality as opposed to kind of the preconceived notions of this being a great person. And
Mm,
that has played itself out where, getting to the point where I have to manage it really well because that has led to experiencing some pain in life because I
mm.
associated a good intention in places where I should not have associated that. But that's just a part of life.
Good intentions, and some people a little bit of a little
Yeah.
that kind of. So now, prior to the starting this part of the podcast,
Hmm.
you're in currently in a fundraising phase.
Sure.
You're raising funds to expand some of the offerings, expand some of the footprint in it. Who are those people who are the best ultimate? I don't want to sound weird, but the sexiest, people who want to invest. I'm not talking about visually. Let's not go there, but
Mm.
because I'm sexy and no,
Yeah.
I'm just gonna state that. Only my wife agrees with that problem, so we're gonna let that one go. But if somebody says, you know what, I'm looking for Victor or
Mhm.
Victor's company, what they look like. What is it someone who wants to be your next, long-term partner, early pre-seed, early seed, second seed, third seed, and to evolution? What does that person look like, and how can they tap into your company and be able to send some Benjamins your way?
Right, great question. So the first part of that is that I have to see in them the values that embody our core values. So we have 6 core values: integrity, teamwork, dedication, passion, family, and service.
Mm,
And anybody associated with X in Life, they absolutely embody those values, and I want our partners and investors to embody those values as well. Beyond that, obviously having a strategic investor that is bringing either insights and knowledge about the industry and opportunities to open doors in the industry? Are they bringing relationships, maybe even without the insights, where they can pick up the phone and open up opportunities? Those are always kind of the best investors, and that would be ideal. For where we are as a company, there's some really, really early stage VCs, and that bar has been raised. It's a lot happening now in the industry, especially with technology. So earliest stages VCs who write the first checks, maybe some family offices who are very aligned with our mission to improve the quality of life for all by advancing wellness. And then outside of that, angels and angel groups. So those are the primary targeted individuals and types of organizations that we're looking for to invest.
definitely. So if somebody wants to reach out to you directly, reach
Mhm.
out to Excellent Life, if they're doing a Google search or listening to this today, next week, and in 3 years, how do you get out and reach out to you and your team?
Yeah, they can reach out to me directly. I'm easy to find on LinkedIn for my website, which is www.xcellent life.com. We spell excellent with an X, not the E. It represents next generations. And so next generation wellness. And so certainly reach out to me there. Even yeah, I think my the phone number to Excellent Life is online as well. And I'm quick to, I will let it go to voicemail. I admit I'm prone to do that, but I do return calls.
It's good. I think we're all prone to do that, especially when we're in podcast mode or we're talking to clients, and you're in that place, you're in the zone, and it's hard to pull yourself out because you need to stay focused on that person in front of you, and really, like you said, you see if they want to go to the moon, and again, if you're reaching in each speaking life into someone and they want to go to the moon, you're not saying, oh, well, maybe you should go to California. Let's be a little bit more conservative. Go to California. No, what, you want to go to Mars? Okay.
Yeah.
You have the good intentions to go to Mars, not go to Mars to blow it up,
Right,
but
right.
like you have that high value, I don't want to say proposition because that sounds transaction, but that high value personality, that high value intentions to do good, not just take a product or service or an individual or connection and just try to just do something weird on it.
Yeah, for me, I mean, that's part of who I am, but also it's been kind of the component that has allowed me to kind of navigate some real challenges in life, like especially when the journey of an entrepreneur is going to be tough, in general. And I just feel like if you're not doing something that's tied to your purpose, like you're probably going to just stop and give up because it won't make sense. But when I've been navigating this journey, there's not been any challenging moment that's been bigger than my purpose. So it's like, it'll be a moment, but then you get past it. And, there's always kind of a lifeline that is your bigger purpose. And so that's been
Fantastic.
incredible, powerful for me.
Fantastic. Josh, take us home.
So, if you'd like this episode of the Skyman and the Bug, come join us again next week when we'll have some other lovely guest.
Thank you very much. He said lovely. I'm just messing with you. Thank you very much, Victor. Thank you very much, listeners. Thank you, fellow Skyman and the Bug co-host, Josh Sheminsky. And we'll see you in another episode. Bye for now.
All right. Thank you.
You're very welcome. You've been listening to
The Skyman
and the Bug. We appreciate you being here. Join us again for another episode of Skyman and the Bug. And if you have any questions, reach out to us either on LinkedIn, Facebook, and other places that you just try to find us.
Take care.
Bye.